Black Wall Street was established in the Greenwood area of Oklahoma in 1921. Black Wall Street was a sophisticated neighborhood flooded with successful black-owned businesses. There were 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes, a hospital, a bank, schools, libraries, law offices, and even a bus system. This was because the oil booms of the early 1900s gave them a resource that allowed them to develop their community. Greenwood residents had a lot of luxuries that whites in other communities didn't. This included indoor plumbing and children with an excelling educational background.
Because of this, whites became envious of their success. They couldn't believe that people they thought to be beneath them were doing better than them economically. In May 1921, Dick Rowland, an African-American teenage shoe shiner, was accused of sexually assaulting Sarah Page, a white 17-year-old. Rowland had tripped in Page's elevator on his way to a segregated bathroom, and a white store clerk reported the incident as an assault. This was all it took for local mobs and white men acting as police to invade Greenwood.
The invasion began on May 31st, 1921 and lasted until June 1st, 1921. In the 16-hour time period, white mobs, including KKK members, terrorized black residents, homes, and businesses on Wall Street. This resulted in more than 300 African-American deaths, over 1,000 homes and other buildings being destroyed, and 60% of black residents being arrested. Some residents tried to join forces to gain some resistance, but that ended up failing.
The government during this time did not help Greenwood rebuild in any way. Despite not having help, the Greenwood citizens still managed to get it done. This part of the history of Black Wall Street often gets overlooked. People talk about the massacre and end there, but what they fail to talk about is the strength and resilience that this community continuously showed. By 1922, only 1 year after the massacre, 80 businesses were opened and Black Wall Street reached its peak in 1942. Some people that helped Black Wall Street become so prosperous were J.B. Stratford, O.W. Gurley, and Andrew J. Smitherman.
A.J. Smitherman was born in Alabama and moved to Tulsa in 1913, where he launched the Daily Tulsa Star. He wrote freely about African American rights. J.B. Stratford was born in Kentucky to 2 former slaves. He made money in Tulsa with his rental properties and hotel business. He had the largest African American owned hotel in the U.S. He was a lawyer, businessman, and political leader who represented Greenwood when it came to matters about the community growth and development. O.W. Gurley was born in 1868 to 2 former slaves. He opened up a grocery store in Tulsa and added a boarding house to his land. During the riot, he lost his business and house and never rebuilt it. Although all these people had significant impacts, there were no specific leader. It was everyone's roles who made Greenwood successful in that time period.
Black Wall Street didn't end until 1950 when desegregation took place. Desegregation allowed whites to move into the area and allowed African Americans to invest in things outside of Greenwood. Black Wall Street is a great example that shows the durability and strength of the black community. This era did not take place too long after slavery. Lots of the Greenwood residents even had parents that were former slaves, but they took that and turned it completely around. Even when they lost their homes and businesses, they continued to defy the odds and rise from the ashes.